a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light. Round the young virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight. Glory stream from heaven above, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again with candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store.
That was the best way to come up on stage. Thank you so much. That was amazing. You guys are all excited. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas Eve. Thank you so much for being here. How are y'all doing? A little bit more energy. How y'all doing? Yes. All right. We're so excited. Thank you so much. For you that are joining online, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure you guys are in cozy PJs with your coffee in hand. Thank you so much for all of you guys being in person with us. Just on behalf of the staff and the volunteers, we truly just thank you for spending your Christmas Eve with us. Well, I'm Jill Cascone. I'm the campus director here for our Clarkston campus. And I'm excited. We've been preparing for this moment with anticipation. And just know that every single seat has been prayed over. We just really have been so full of excitement for this. So just a little bit of information to kick off the day. On Sunday, the 26th of December, we actually will have no in-person services at any of our Kensington campuses, okay? So we're gonna be online only. We invite you to join us. Our own lead pastor here at the Clarkston campus, Jeremiah Roy, he is going to be leading a message in New Year, New Hope. So we hope that you join us, again, from the coziness of your own home. Then on January 2nd, we'll return back in person. And of course, always have the online option as well. And we're going to kick off a brand new series titled A Journey to Remember. So I hope that you come back for that. All right, so many of you might be guests visiting us today or newer to the Kensington community. So I'm just going to take a minute and do a little Kensington 101, if you will. So we have been a church for 31 years. We now have 7 different campuses, 6 in the Metro Detroit area, which one of those includes our Brazilian campus. And then we have our friends up in Traverse City, who have a lot of snow right now. And we also have such a great privilege of partnering with indigenous leaders with 10 different countries. And some of those countries are Afghanistan, Nepal, Kenya. And truly, God is doing amazing things, moving his mission forward through the men and women who are boots on the ground in these 10 different countries. It's beautiful and miraculous to see what is happening. So the last 4 weeks, we have been in Advent. And each week, if you have been joining us, we have lit each Advent calendar. I keep saying calendar. It's a candle. Week 1. We talked about hope. And kids in the room, let me look for, what did you hope for? What do you hope for Christmas? What do you hope you get tomorrow? A whiteboard. You really hope you get a whiteboard? I hope you get a whiteboard too. It sounds like an easy request to me. I really hope you get your whiteboard. But what we're talking about is the hope, the deep hope that is only found in Jesus. And the second week, we lit the peace candle. And Jesus tells us, you will have trouble in this world, but take heart, I have overcome the world. There is deep peace in that. The third week, we lit the joy candle, and this is a deep joy that we find in God's promises only. That's it. We find our deep joy in God's promises. Finally, last week, we lit the love candle. And we read scripture from John 3:16-17, and it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son to the world to condemn the world, but to save the world." God sent his Son for us. That is the most greatest love that has ever taken place. In just a little bit, we're finally going to be able to light this candle in the center here, this white candle. The light of hope candle, the Christ candle. But before we do that, we're gonna have a little fun. So if you would all stand up and join me, you at home, I'm asking you to do this too, because we're gonna kick off the morning with singing a beautiful melody of Christmas carols together.
Let's sing, oh come all ye faithful.
Oh come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh come let us adore him. Oh come let us adore him. Oh come let us adore him, Christ the
The herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful joy, ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Sing, angels we have heard on high, and angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing
Jesus. Yeah, give it up. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Wonderful. You guys can go ahead and take a seat. My name is Davey Nelson, and I am the worship arts director here at Kensington's Clarkston campus. And thank you again just so much for joining us on this beautiful morning in this wonderful season that we're in. Like Jill said, we are been in this season of Advent, this season of anticipation, waiting. And what we know we're waiting for is the arrival of Jesus. And now that we know that he's here, we're in the second Advent, where we're waiting for the second coming of Jesus. And we've been waiting to light this final candle, the Christ candle, light of the world. And in just a moment, Noah Roy is actually going to come down and he's going to light that candle for us. But before he does, there's a poem titled Emmanuel by Devin White that I want to read with you. In the darkness of night, the light came. A child was born, a son given, Emmanuel, God is with us. All heaven and earth rejoice, declaring news of the newborn King. Good news of joy, a new hope of everlasting peace. Mary wrapped him as a gift, treasuring this moment in her heart. God's gift to all the world, holding the light of life and love, the wonder of it all. He was born, he lived, he died sinless on the tree, defeating sin, death, and the grave, a living sacrifice. He set all captives free. God with us, Emmanuel, our living hope, the Prince of Peace.
In the darkest weeks of winter, when the day barely seems to shake itself free from dropping off to sleep again, and the night stretches long and cold and deep, it is then that the people trundle greenery and lights into their homes. We haul out tangled reels of twinkle lights to make our neighborhoods gasp-worthy, to reflect in the wondering eyes of children, and to warm every passerby. Our existence revolves around light. Our own planet loops in endless adoration around the sun. The seasons, days, and our sense of time all hinge on the angle and span of its rays reaching down to touch us. The light makes green things grow. Crops, rainforests, delicate flowers bloom, grassy plains, spiring pines. The plants absorb the light, and it sustains them and feeds the world. Light reveals beauty. Without light, there would be no sunrise, no tree line, no fireflies, no view of our eyes. We could not behold the glistening on the waves, the million pinprick prisms in a diamond, or the smile on a loved one's face. And for us, the light draws us up out of bed, out of our stupor, and we wake. Light energizes us to move, work, and play. When we're caught or lost or pressed down in darkness, light beckons us forward and promises us freedom and refuge and wholeness. But what if all the light is swallowed by darkness? The power goes out and every tree and rooftop goes black. The tall, waxy candle refuses to light. The stars disappear, one by one, as if plucked deliberately from the dark sky. The sun is held down beneath the horizon and cannot rise. If darkness extinguishes the light, what would we feel? What would we see?
Oh come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns in lonely exile
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
This idea of Emmanuel, God be with us. God be a light unto us. God, if you would bring light into darkness. See, the people then were asking for God to bring in light, to illuminate a pathway forward, to illuminate the idea of hope, to give something more. And what's so amazing is this is in the very essence and heart of God, at the heart of Christmas. You see, if you go all the way back in time to the beginning of the narrative, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when he did, they were formless and they were devoid of any light. In fact, great darkness covered the whole face of the earth and all the waters in the deep. But God's Spirit was moving, and I'm so grateful for that. Because where God is and where he moves, new life becomes. And God spoke and said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And this is what's so beautiful about Jesus and about Christmas. That he did not just put the sun, right, in the sky, but he sent his son to us to be an incredible light in our life. Can you imagine that moment? How dark it must have been. Great darkness, and with words from his mouth, moving with great power and majesty. Light begins to penetrate in at 186,000 miles per second, moving in and cutting in through like a sword, moving and changing the world forever. And what's so interesting about this is that God was not done. See, Isaiah says this, that there was a people walking in the darkness, and they had seen a great light. And on those living in the land of the deep darkness, a light has dawned. Here's what's interesting. Darkness was going to come again. And so that's why we celebrate Christmas some 2,000 years ago. God sends his one and only son that brings light into our life like never before. And you say, what kind of light? Can I show you from John, from the Gospel of John? It's in there. It says, in him was life. It says, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. This is what's so beautiful, what we get to celebrate today, is that there is true light. This true light that we celebrate around Christmas is Jesus Christ. And that he came and that he brings light into the world in a way we could never imagine. I love this because it is good news. And here's what's amazing too. The shepherds, right? We know the Christmas story, and the shepherds and the wise men, they're all there, but the angel had spoke to him and said, don't be afraid, because I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all people. I mean, this is incredible. God is going to bring light in that's going to transform our lives like never before. He gives us so many things, and when he brings, we've been going through this Advent season, he's been bringing in hope. He brings in peace. He brings in joy, right? Who couldn't use a little bit more of that? And he brings in love. And that all originates from this thing we're going to talk about today around Christmas. Why are we celebrating? He brings light. He is the light of mankind. He is the light of life. He is the true light that radically changes our lives. And that's what we're going to celebrate today. And as we do, I just want to stop and pray for a moment for this Christmas season, for all of you in here, for your families, for those online. Just ask God to really bless. So pray with me if you would. Father, we ask that you, Lord, you would move, Jesus. You moved so powerfully 2,000 years ago on Christmas. And God, you are still moving today. It was not a one-time event. It was the beginning of something that would radically change humanity. It has rippled through eons of time, and it impacts people for the better. Jesus, your light changes our life. And so I just pray that you would bless Christ in your name. Amen. As we do that, if you're a guest here, I don't want you to worry about this moment at all, but we're going to take our offering, and we have got most of it, 85% of it's done online and digitally, and then we have got different offering buckets in the back there. And I want to tell you, thank you so much for your generosity. Those that are giving and believing that the light of Jesus Christ really changes lives. We watch it all the time in kids' lives, in our students' lives, in the marriages around here, in singles, and our grandparents all over, and so it's an incredible thing. But you know what's amazing about light and about this story, the Christmas story? Well, a lot of us think about it like this, and we think, you know what? The Christmas story is amazing, and it all kind of comes around these characters, right? We think about this young virgin named Mary, and she met a guy named Joseph, and Joseph was betrothed to be her husband, but all of a sudden, Mary got pregnant by the Spirit of God. That would be a hard one to share with your husband, soon to be, don't you think? Right? And so they're there, and then there's some wise men, there's some shepherds, there's a barn, there is even a manger. But I want to tell you, there's more to the story than just that. That is not the conclusion of this story at all. Have you ever noticed, because we have kids in here, and I'm a dad of 4, I got 3 boys and a little girl, there's always more to the story. My sons will run in, and they'll come in, and they're sitting there, and Noel will come around the corner, who just lit the candle, by the way, and he'll get mad, and he'll go, Isaac man, he punched me so hard, and he's really mad about it, and I'm like, Isaac, why did you punch him? And you know what happened? And then Isaac got this hoverboard, and he goes, I don't know why. Noah just did it. I don't know why he was mad and did all that. And it's sitting there, I said, what, did you do anything? And he goes, no. I'm like, Isaac, did you do anything at all? He goes, well, I might have ran over his foot with the hoverboard. I'm like, well, that'll do it, right? There's always more to the story when it comes to this. You know what's incredible? If we're willing to dig deep as a people, if we're willing today on Christmas to say, God, is there a little more to the Christmas story than maybe I've been led on to? Is there more than just the manger? Is there more than just that moment of Jesus being this baby? And I think there is. Have you ever watched in your life, if you're willing just to hang in a little bit longer, press in a little bit more, lean in a little bit further, that you begin to watch and see amazing things happen? I was at the Lions game just a couple of weeks ago with my brother-in-law and versus the Vikings, and we were getting ready to leave because it looked like the Lions were going to lose. And honestly, could you blame me? Right? I know we got diehard Lions fan. What is it about us? We're all in with the greatest losing team of all time, feels like, but we're in it to win it with them, right? And I want to show you a video clip. So I told my son, Isaac, I said, let's just video this. Who knows what might happen, right? Maybe something amazing is going to happen. Maybe there's more to the story of what's going to take place. I want to show you that moment that we experienced together. Here we go. Woo, this is it. Get it. There's always more to the story. We were so ecstatic. We're like, I can't believe that. They just won, But this is our story today, is that there's more to the story. There is more to be had when it comes to talking about Christmas. And I want to tell you that it was not just the baby in the manger. If that was the whole story, it's beautiful and it's majestic and it's amazing. And right, I mean, you have sets at home of maybe baby Jesus and nativity scenes and all sorts of stuff. And that's part of the story, but there's more to the story that we want to share today. We really do. We want to tell you about that he was not just the baby in the manger, but he was the bringer of light. He was a bringer of light that would be the light of all mankind that would change everything. Have you ever noticed how intrinsic it is to lights? I mean, around this time of the year, we love lights. We love the lit up stage. We love looking up and almost envisioning a starry night right above our heads. And we love lights. And how many of you have been able to tour the lights this year? Have you toured the lights with all the kids or done anything like that? We went to Wild Lights at Detroit Zoo. And it was amazing. Got a couple of pictures of that. We were there, and the lights were just unbelievable. Even my teenager, who was like, dude, do I gotta go? Like, I could tell he liked it too, right? And we're there, and we're looking around, and I've got a pic of just my youngest two right there. They're there, and they had this little spot where they just were so fascinated with these lights. It just captivated them. And it's something, I think, that is more than just a physiological reaction. It's something more that's neuroscience. It goes much deeper to the soul. It really does. It goes to a spot and a place in our hearts and our minds that there's something beautiful about light, even from the beginning of the story. And God said, let there be light, and it radically began to transform human history. And Jesus comes in, and he brings light like we can never imagine. And we want to take you to a story today because we want you to know there's more to the story. It wasn't the baby in the manger, but the bringer of light that was going to radically transform the world. When Jesus finds himself, the Gospel of Mark captures a moment where we see the bringer of light doing what only he can do, doing what only he could do in your life, and my life, and our lives, and your kids' lives, only what he could have done on even Christmas. And the story opens up here. It's a man that they are bringing to him. It says they came to Bethsaida. This is Jesus and his disciples are there. They're walking into a town. You have to understand, he had done amazing things. People, crowds would gather around him. Wherever he went, things would radically change around him. The way he spoke moved people. The way he loved moved people. The miracles that he did were just majestic. It was unbelievable. But he comes in, and so people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. They bring this blind man. Now, I want to stop for a moment because we're talking all about light. But can you imagine for a moment that your life has been engrossed in darkness? You've never seen what we would call the light of day. You'd never even thought of the adage would make sense to you, light at the end of the tunnel. There was none of that. And this man is sitting there, and he's in the dark. And these people are bringing him to Jesus, saying, I hear you're not just from the baby in the manger, the Messiah, but some say you're the bringer of light. You're a bringer of light that will radically change our life. Can you change his life? Will you just even touch him? Because they believed if I could even touch Jesus or get near to Jesus, which, by the way, this happened, you get near him and his power would flow in you. Like they wanted to be near him. Being in gross darkness is a difficult thing at times. Nobody likes the dark. Kids don't like the dark. How many of you love the dark if you're a kid here right now? No, not really. They love the light. They love a night light. And like as parents, like walking around having little kids still, is it not the worst thing in the world? It's probably one of the most dangerous, painful things I've ever experienced in my life. You want to know? I'm walking in the dark and I'm rolling around. I'm trying to go check on a kid or something. Maria will always get down in bed and get comfortable. I don't know if this ever happens to anybody else. We'll get totally tucked and comfortable. And Maria will go, Jeremiah, and I'll go, yeah. And I think maybe she wants to kiss or something, right? No. And say, yeah. She goes, will you go check on the kids? I'm like, oh my gosh, babe, they're fine. We just checked on them 20 minutes ago, And I'm there, so I walk around and I'll hit a toy or a Lego, and it feels like a dagger goes right up my foot. And I am just like, I'm going to throw this toy away. Marie's like, don't throw the toy away. We're there, but there's something beautiful about just a child needing a light. I don't know about you, but my kids still have some stuffed animals, and I've got one I want to show you. I had growing up, because when it was dark in my room, my mom had got this for me in like second grade, and it was Camo Dino. I got a pic of it I can show you too. He's only got one eye, but he's fierce. He's a dinosaur. So he's got one, and I would hold on to this. And now one of my sons actually has this in their room. Right? Does any kids there? You guys got a stuffed animal at all? You got an awesome stuff there, blanket or something amazing you hold on to, right? And it feels so good to hold on to them, to reach for them when it's dark, especially. They give a sense of comfort in that. And what's amazing for us is not just that we reach for comfort. This man was reaching out. He was not reaching for a stuffed animal, but reaching for the prospect and the hope that maybe this bringer of light would change his life. That maybe this Jesus could actually perform a miracle for him. Maybe Jesus could shed light into the darkness that he had experienced for so long. And this is the longing for it. And what's amazing about this story, as there's more to the story that we tell, is that this was the heart of God. On Christmas, Jesus doesn't want you to be able to celebrate once a year. He wanted you to be able to celebrate all the time. And so the story, as it begins to move on, I want us to stop just for a moment and think about this. Jesus is here and he's talking to this blind man. He sees him, right? And they're trying to get him to touch him, but he's reaching. They just want him to reach out. Have you ever reached out? Think about when life feels dark. While darkness may not scare us as adults, the things that the darkness in our life, spiritual darkness, if you would, they do. The uncertainty of life, of a relationship, the unknown of the future of a job prospect, a condition that you heard across the room from the doctor that shared with you and you don't know what the future will hold. And it feels like, right, darkness in that moment begins to push in. And like this man, we find ourselves in a position in life, because darkness will always come in this world, no different, reaching and grappling in the dark. It feels like, what do I do? How do I fix this? What could happen? What's going to come of this moment? How can I change this? And we can find ourselves in life not having enough strength to change our own scenario or situation. So we move to this spot of needing something greater than us, a power more large than we are, Jesus. And I don't blame him for reaching. Think about Jesus. 2,000 years ago, he comes as a baby in the manger, transformed into the bringer of light. Think about it. A person that is there, right? And he's never wrote a book, but more books have been written about him than ever before. He never went to school or was a professor, but more buildings have been erected and put to study his life. He had never even journeyed a couple hundred miles away from his house, but yet thousands of miles away and all the way around the world for the past 2,000 years, and even right now today, not just across our campuses in the U.S., but the world is celebrating this life. A man that was born to a virgin birth, are you kidding? Radically changes the world and gives new life and new birth to people. And so he is reaching, rightfully so. Can I encourage you today on Christmas, do you have this kind of light that you're reaching for in your life? And it goes on. And so Jesus reaches out, and look what he does next. He, being Jesus, took the blind man by the hand and led him outside of the village. Now, this is interesting because Jesus, you got to imagine this moment. There's a crowd, right? There's a crowd here. We're standing here, and there's an audience, there's a crowd. We're all together, and all of a sudden, Jesus, this man comes to him, and now he's reaching for him. Jesus offers, as he does you and I, take me by the hand and trust me and follow me. And I'm going to take you outside the village. And it would seem that Jesus would have just said, you know what? Let me heal you on the spot because I can do that. Let me just take care of this blindness right now. I can do that. That's no problem at all. That would be an amazing Christmas gift, right? I can do that. But he grabs him by the hand and he walks out. And there's this amazing moment, and we're reading through Scripture and saying, why is that in Scripture? Why is that part of the story? Is there more to the story to be told in this moment? And often Jesus is inviting us to a walk of faith. He's inviting us to trust him in a moment where we feel blind, we feel in darkness, we feel like I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to navigate this part of my marriage. Could somebody guide me through this? I don't know how to parent my kids well. They're struggling. We're all struggling, right? How do I navigate through this? Could somebody guide me? Would somebody, if you would, take me by the hand and take me through this part of my life? I don't know how to get there. This man is desperate, and he is no different than you and I. His condition may be different than what we have, but the condition of itself has left him feeling in darkness. And there's something, when you think about it, beautiful, intrinsic about holding someone's hand. Can you remember the first time you held your sweetheart's hand, right? Or the first time you touched somebody's hand? There's something so beautiful. Even my sons, who I've one that's 16 and 12, right? My 12-year-old's almost as big as I am, but he's still loving and caring. And I've got a 7-year-old and a little girl, and I love, since they've been little, I interlock my fingers. Do parents ever do that with their kids? Interlock their fingers, and we just hold hands. And I find myself driving with my oldest sometimes, and I'll reach over and put my hand on his knee, and he'll look at me, and I've even reached over and tried to grab his hand one time, and he looks at me and goes, dude, Dad, what are you doing? What is going on here, man? And I love him, and I want to do that. And there's something special and intimate. And there's something that brings a sense of trust. There's something that brings a sense of hope. Have you ever held a loved one's hand as they're battling an illness? Or maybe a grandma that's passing? And just to hold the hands, there feels to be this intimacy. Can you imagine in this moment the intimacy and the trust this man has? And though maybe it would feel like, well, I'm just done. I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to walk away. I really needed healing, Jesus. I need an instant fix, right? Give me something now. Can you just do this? And Jesus says, I need you to take my hand. I want to bring you on a journey. I'm the bringer of light, and I want to illuminate something new in your life, but you have to trust me. You have to follow me. Jesus is consistently saying this even at Christmas. Follow me. Trust me. Let me take you somewhere you've never been. And as he goes on, it's just unbelievable what happens next, because there's always more to the story. When Jesus has done this, so he's seen the man, he's taken the man by the hand, but watch, when he has spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, do you see anything? He looked up and said, I see people. They look like trees walking around. I can't really see. Nothing's really changed. There's just a little bit of light here. But look at the first part. When Jesus had spit on the man's eye, can you imagine showing up to a Christmas Eve gathering? Maybe you're going to dinner afterwards. You're going to hang out. And you get greeted at the door, greeted at the restaurant. And they say, we're so glad you could come. We've been waiting for you. Let me take you by the hand, or can I take your coat and walk you over here to your seat? And the next thing they do is they look down. They're like, we are excited you're here. And spit in your face. Oh, like, how would you feel? Insulted. Man, so this is the reality. Spitting in culture has a couple meanings. It can be an act of great insult, right? We would all think that in our culture for sure. And in fact, in that culture, it was at times in Roman and Jewish culture. But it goes further. It's not even that. Sometimes it would be an act of blessing or an even act to ward off evil spirits. Can you imagine spitting in someone's face? Like, look, don't take it personal. I just want to ward off evil spirits for you, right? There's that. Or that was a blessing. It's like, that's a blessing. Show me no more. I'm like, dude. But it goes further. This was also an act of healing. In fact, what's so sacred and beautiful about this moment, it was even that you would take spittle. They had believed there was healing properties in the saliva, and they would mix it with clay in the ground, and they would rub it into a wound, or they would put it on the eyes as a balm to try to begin to promote healing, to try to, promote to pull out the infection. But Jesus was not just a teacher. He was not just a baby in the manger. He was not just a great rabbi. He was not just a man of authority. He was not just somebody that could do incredible party tricks and everybody came around. He was the bringer of light, and that light would be the light of all mankind, and that light would be the true light that would illuminate anything from darkness. And Jesus was about to do something this man had never experienced before. And maybe you're in here and you feel like you're in darkness in this moment. And Jesus is saying, you came and you heard the service, you're watching online. Then he says, take me by the hand and trust me and follow me out to a place you've not been. Jesus brings us into the place of discomfort where we are uncertain and we are unknown, but he is holding our hand. And then he begins to do something where it's unfamiliar to us. He's spitting in this man's eyes. He's doing this, but look what happens. He says, can you see anything? Can anything change in your life? Right now, he says, no, nothing at the moment. And it goes on. It says, once more, I love this. Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened. His sight was restored, and he saw everything with great clarity in this moment. Can you imagine this? Where there was no light that had entered, there is light. Where there was no sight, there is now sight in this moment. This man has something that's radically changed his life forever. I can't even imagine in that moment. And he would have said, this is more than the Messiah, right? This is more than the baby in the manger. This man is the bringer of light. He has radically changed something in my life. I can't imagine what it would have been experienced and felt like in that moment. How you would celebrate, like that Lions video doesn't even hold a candle to the amazement he would have had. Because all of a sudden he now has clarity. Like, this is unbelievable of what's going on in this person's life. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. This man is experiencing it now. He has it. Think about what light brings. I've watched this in people's lives. As Jesus enters in, it radically begins to transform everything around them. This light begins to let them see more clearly the value they have in God's eyes. Do you know how valuable you are to God? It ignites a passion inside of anybody. Have you ever seen anybody that's really transformed? Like there's really a transformation in their life, and you're looking at it and they have a new ignited passion. Can you imagine how this man must have felt? The stories he was going to tell, the life he was going to experience, because that's what happens when we let Jesus bring the light of life into our lives. And then all of a sudden, man, just this light, he gets to see others around him for the first time. Isn't that incredible? Like, can you imagine if he was married, or maybe he was not married? Maybe he had never even looked upon a woman, right? He didn't know, but now all of a sudden he looks up and maybe he looks and goes, oh, wow, that's Susan. She looks great. And I'm just kidding, right? Like this moment, but I'm saying this is like this guy is getting to see for the first time. Do you know when the light of Jesus comes into your life, it allows you and gets you to see people differently. I've watched this in marriages where God has restored people. Like when they were looking at each other and they're just angry at each other. And maybe you came in here today and you were angry or you're upset and you were frustrated about life. Jesus' light allows you to look at your spouse and your children in a new light, in a new way. He helps us in situations we can't even imagine. And he brings the truth through his light of who he is and who we are to him. Like his story is amazing. I love the verse. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And this is what's so interesting, this story. See, why are we bringing this on Christmas? That Jesus was not the baby in the manger, but the bringer of life. And that he invites us to follow him and to journey with him in places that we could never go. And it's so like we just want an instant fix sometimes, right? Want everything right away. Like kids, don't you want to go home and just open all your gifts right now? Wouldn't that be awesome? You can't do it, sorry. But it would be amazing, right? You got to wait. Maybe mom and dad will give you like one gift or something like that. I better stop because I'm going to get in trouble with all the parents here, right? So, but we want everything right away. But Jesus is saying, follow me. And this illumination is taking place slowly. It's going a little bit slow and a little bit slow. And this man has got to be asking the question, and maybe we've done that with God in our life. God, where are you leading me? Are you even here? And he says, take me by the hand. And not just take me by the hand, and then he puts spittle in his eyes. And he's doing things that are unfamiliar, and they don't make a lot of sense. But all of a sudden, Jesus, can you see anything? And I can start to see with a little more clarity for the first time ever, right? And then all of a sudden, Jesus lays his hands on him again, and he begins to be able to see everything with clarity. So clear. And he is asking us on Christmas, he is inviting us to follow him like we've never have before. He's inviting to bring new life and light into your life. I love watching this. I've got a friend of mine that's come to the service, and he's going to be here, and it's amazing. We go back in April, we were at Leo's Coney, and we're just hanging out there, and he was struggling with an addiction, and he just was really like, I'm going to give up. There's no point, you know. I don't know what to do, and we invited him. We said, just trust Jesus. He's like, I've tried that. Just trust Jesus a little bit more. I've tried, and so he did, and it was amazing. I began to watch over the past couple of months. He would just begin to illuminate a path a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And now all of a sudden, this guy's got almost coming up, it's going to be next week, almost 226 days of sobriety. Isn't that incredible? I'm like, this is awesome, man. And it's Jesus Christ, like, leading him. And I watch the way he is around his wife, and I watch the way that he loves his daughter. He has new clarity in his life. Like, he sees things differently. He sees the prospect of what Jesus means in his life. Now, when Jesus says, hey, will you take me by the hand? He's gladly, willingly to take him by the hand. Jesus, you've done amazing things in my life. I want to show you, and I want to bring to you a story that we have. This story is so beautiful. It's friends of ours at Kensington. In fact, it's Craig McGlasson, our Orion campus pastor. It's his father named Craig Sr. and a friend of his named Tony. And these men have been journeying and following Jesus for a long time, almost 40 plus years. They have followed Jesus through difficult times, times when there was darkness, times when it was just hard to really trust Jesus, hard to do even as in the story, to take him by the hand and to trust him. But what's so amazing about their story is they both are blind. And when you hear the way they still willfully follow Jesus, they will tell you that they are seeing the light of Jesus Christ in their life. I want you to watch this with me.
My eyes could see like a flash bulb from a camera or sunlight or a little bit of light for a while, but that was it. But probably by the age of 5, they atrophied. And some people say, well, then you just see blackness. Well, no, I don't see anything. There's absolutely nothing there. I was born premature. My mother had a ruptured appendix, which threw her into labor. So I was born at 6.5 months into the pregnancy, put in an incubator for 6 weeks. And when I was about maybe 4 months old, my mom said, she looked at me and said, he is not following my fingers, and took me to the doctor. And the doctor said, yep, he's blind. When he gets older, get him a pair of dark glasses. And that's all she was told. I moved to Michigan when I was 10, went to the special school, and the teacher said, Tony, why don't you show Craig around, let him know what everything is in here. And he took me on a tour, and we just got to be friends. And about 3 3 weeks later, we were wrestling around and collided heads. And my hand hit his head, and you'll excuse the expression, but this is the way we talked in that generation. I suddenly said, "You're a colored boy." And Tony goes, "Yeah, didn't you know that?" I said, "No." That was one of the times when I realized if I've known this kid for 3 weeks and didn't know he was black, then what does it matter? All it meant to me was because of what I was told, that there's these, you know, you're white, they're black, and a lot of people, especially back then, said you shouldn't be playing together or get together. And Tony and I just ignored him.
We just, you know, got to be friends. And a lot of times he would invite me over to, you know, stay the night with him. At that time, there were a lot of taboos about, you know, not associating with, you know, if you were Caucasian, you didn't associate with African American people. But like I said, we just kind of overstepped that. And Craig had been trying to get me to, Craig was he loved to ride bikes.
I did.
He really did.
I could balance on him perfect.
It was phenomenal. He had been trying to get me to ride the tandem with him. Matter of fact, he said that we were going to go down the alley.
Yeah, there was an alley in back of our house.
Yeah, and there wasn't going to be any problem. It would be a straight shot. So we hopped on the tandem.
Yeah, he was on the back,
Yep.
where you can't steer at all. All he could do was help pedal, and
Yeah.
I was on the front.
He was steering.
And doing the steering.
Yeah. And so we were moving down the alley at a nice rate
Clip. I
of
mean,
speed.
we were. I don't want to interrupt you,
Okay.
but I gotta admit this part for myself.
All right.
I got real confident, and so I sort of turned around.
Oh, boy.
And I said, "Now, don't you really feel bad
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
that you didn't want to trust me and ride on this bike?"
Yeah, that's
Just about when he was
Yeah,
ready to
I was
answer,
getting ready.
someone parked their truck back there.
And we did not know it, and we hit that thing, and I was so
Slammed
upset.
into that truck.
I
He flew
said-
off the
I said,
bike.
man, I said, don't ever ask me to ride with you anywhere on anything. I was upset.
He wouldn't even. I said, "Get on this
No.
bike and I'll get you back to
No.
our house." He would not do it. Each had a job at a local hospital in the dark room developing the x-rays, which was perfect for us because we got around in there better than anybody else did.
For me, the dark room was significant because that's really where I met the Lord Jesus Christ, in the dark room. I had been struggling with whether I was really a believer or not. There were other people that had been struggling with it, and I really gave my life to Christ in the dark room, and I can just remember that. It was just slow, and I just really came to grips with my own personal sin, and I really came to grips with who Jesus was. Craig was the one that really challenged me about salvation. I hadn't really even thought about it, you know, but one day, I think it was after church, and he asked me, you know, "Tony, are you really saved?" And I thought about it, and I said, "No, I don't think I am." And so the Lord really used him in a mighty way to really get me to thinking about spiritual things.
Well, honestly, I know some people say that you should know the exact time, date, PM, AM, almost to the second when you became a believer. For me, it didn't work that way. It sort of was a process of enlightenment, you might say. And I remember the gospel was shared with me when I was about 13. And that night I got down on my knees and did what the guy had said, trusted Jesus Christ. But there was nobody in my family that was a believer. And so I got way off base, didn't have any guidance. And yet, I am convinced that the Lord was back there working. Literally, the spiritual light was turned on. The best way I describe it, it was like spiritually I was in darkness or without nothing, dead in my trespasses and sins. And suddenly everything about Jesus made sense. It's been a growing process spiritually ever since. Maybe taking some steps back, but then always moving forward.
Before I was saved, I was very self-centered. Everything revolved around me and my world. And after Christ came in, he began to really take my focus off of me and really put it on him, change of how I understood life.
It's also the grace that he just shows me personally on a daily basis. I mean, if I was in his position, I probably would have taken me out years ago, you know? And yet he still thinks I'm worth working through. And to me, that's just awesome that he uses me to do anything. I can't get over the magnitude of it sometimes. You know, I don't know why the Lord let me be blind, but I'll tell you this. If it comes down to me, and I often wondered, but having physical vision and letting it have caught me up so much in that I ignore the Lord, no thank you. It's much better to have him and not have the physical vision. And someday I'll have both anyway. I don't know how many times people have said, I bet you guys can't wait until you have your vision and can see Jesus. No, I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to hear his voice. I can't wait to feel his arms around me.
Yes.
Feel the nail scars. And just know him. To me, that's more important than being able to see his face. Now, when I do see his face, sure, I'm sure there'll be some excitement there. But right now, I relate more to the person he is and meeting him personally.
Yeah.
Is that not one of the most beautiful stories you've ever heard? I've watched that video several times now, and I was texting with my friend Craig, and I just said, man, and your dad said if I could change my physical vision, if I could have it, he said, I'm not worried about it. I'd rather have spiritual vision like I have. And it made me just think so deeply, Lord, that you are the true light, that if you're the light of mankind, if somebody who can't see can actually see because of you, and not physically, but spiritually, and they would claim and hold and cling onto that spiritual light more than they would even cling to physical light, there's got to be something so amazing about you. You must be the light of all mankind. You must be the true light. You must be the bringer of light. You are more than a baby in a manger. You are the bringer of light. You radically transform lives all the time. I'm telling you, this Christmas, the best gift in the world is having an awakening in your soul, an awakening in your relationship, an awakening in your family, and saying, Jesus, we've been looking all over, but now that we see you, we see true light. Can you imagine what true light would do right now in your life? What kind of darkness are you in? What kind of darkness are you grappling with and trying to move through, right? Some people say Christmas is the greatest time of the year, and I'm telling you, I've heard others say the opposite. Christmas is so difficult. There are people they love that they have lost and they long for. There are things that they desire to rejoice with family, but they have none. They want to overcome something, but they can't. And Jesus is saying there, and he's looking at you. He is standing in the abyss of darkness, but there is a glowing. He is the light at the end of the tunnel. He is reaching his hand out, and he's saying, take my hand. I am the true light. I am the life of mankind. Let me lead you to higher ground. Let me take you to a greater place, right? I mean, this is Jesus. How is it he can take a blind man that wants spiritual vision more than physical sight? How is it he can take a man that was ready to give up on his marriage and his family and his life, and he radically transforms it because he's the true light? This is what Christmas is about. Like, I don't want us to miss it. I love the baby in the manger because Luke said, I'm going to bring you good news. It's going to bring great joy from all people, man. He's going to be unbelievable. He's a wonderful counselor. He's a mighty God. He's an eternal Father. He's the Prince of Peace. Like, this guy's unbelievable. But did you know he's the bringer of light? And Jesus goes on in this story, and he looks to his disciples outside of town, and this is the great question for us at Christmas. He looks to Peter, and he looks to John, and he looks to Philip, and he says, hey, who does everybody say that I am after I just performed that miracle, right? Who does everybody say that I am that did that? They said, well, some say you're Elijah. Some say you're John the Baptist. Some say you're a great prophet. And he looked at Peter the way he even now is looking at you in the darkness. He says, who do you say that I am? Do you say I'm just a baby in a manger in a really great nativity scene that we celebrate once a year? Or Peter, or me, or you? Do you say that I'm the bringer of light? Am I the one that actually can radically transform your life? Will you follow me? Jesus is unbelievable. He says, I am the light of the world. This Christ candle, this hope, this peace, this joy, this love that is represented here, none of them would even be originated without the light of Jesus Christ. He says, I see there's gross darkness covering the world. And Isaiah foreshadows it, right? 700 years before Jesus would even come. He says, but people, there's going to be a day people will see a great light. It'll push back the darkness. And our lives can begin to be ones that we say, for me, Jesus, you have become the light of the world in my life. Jesus, you are the light of the world. There's no doubt about it. And his promise is I will never have to walk in great darkness, ever, never. What about when my marriage is struck? Never. I'll be there with you. What about when I'm giving up on parent? Never. I will stand with you. What about when I got this diagnosis? I will be there with you in the waiting room. I will be there with you in the treatment center. I will be with you. I am the light of the world, and I will never, ever let you walk in darkness. And whoever has this light, they have the light of life. And what's beautiful about this light is it is given freely. Say, what do I have to do to get this? You have to take the hand of Jesus and trust him. Do I have to perform? Do I have to pay? What do I have to do? You don't have to do any of that. You just have to be willing, like the blind man, to take the hand of Jesus and follow him so he can reveal to you true light. You know what's amazing about this light? John says, this light, it will shine into darkness, and even the darkness cannot overcome it. And this light was not meant to be here and kept. It was meant to shine very brightly all over. Can you imagine being there in that moment on that holy night? So you're about to have your candle lit, and we're going to participate in a beautiful moment. But I want to remind us, that beautiful moment began 2,000 years ago. A bright and shining star was guiding the wise men. Shepherds were there, and angels spoke and said, I've got good news. It's going to bring great joy. It's going to come in the form of light. Well, not just this baby in a manger. Yeah, it'll be there, but he's going to become a bringer of light. He's going to become something amazing. And that light is going to shine in the greatest darkness of your life. And it is going to push back that darkness. And even the darkest of moments cannot push back in this light. You see, it is always darkest before the dawn of a new light. Jesus Christ is that new light. What a holy night. What a sacred night. What a beautiful night that the light of Jesus Christ broke into the world and offered freely for all of us. And here's what I want to tell you. On Christmas, when you're looking at this light, I want you to be honest. Is the light of Jesus Christ, is it actually shining in your life? Or do you feel trapped in darkness? Because you don't have to. You can take the hand of Jesus and he will bring you into the light. This is what he did 2,000 years ago. This is what he does now. And this is what he will do for you. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me or takes my hand will never walk in darkness, but they will have the light of life.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin
I exalt thee. Oh Lord, sing I exalt. Oh, I exalt thee. I exalt thee. Oh, I exalt thee. Oh Lord, you lift his praise. I exalt thee. Oh, I exalt thee. Oh, I exalt thee. Oh, every voice fill this room with I exalt. Oh, I exalt thee. I exalt thee. I
They exalted him 2,000 years ago with fear and trembling. And the angel said to him, don't be afraid. He said, I don't want you to be afraid, because I'm coming to bring good news to you, actually, and it's going to bring great joy to all people, right? He's a wonderful counselor. This is why we exalt him. He's a mighty God that loves us when we need him. Man, he is an eternal Father that is full of unconditional love. He is the Prince of Peace, and he is the bringer of light into our life. I am the light of mankind, Jesus says. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. Like if this could be a picture of your life, right? Walking, and no matter what kind of darkness comes your way, or discouragement, or anything at all, whatever life brings in, it brings it, doesn't it, right? It brings it. And Jesus says, don't forget, I'm the light of mankind. And if you follow me, man, you will never walk in darkness. Like, this is beautiful. On Christmas, the greatest Christmas gift ever. He says that person, they'll never have to walk in darkness. And you know what's beautiful? Hold this up. This light in our world needs us more than ever. We need this more than ever. This light, John says, will shine into the darkest places. It'll shine and pierce through the darkness, and the darkness cannot extinguish it. It cannot overcome it. Like, this was the goal of Jesus, to bring light into our life and the church to gather and to bring light into a dark world. And I don't know about you, but I'm telling you, receive that gift of what Jesus Christ brings. And as we bring this closer, we will blow out this candle. But it doesn't represent extinguishing the light of Christ, right? Like, he's amazing. Can you imagine being there with the angel in that moment? Can you imagine being there? I can't even imagine having an angel show up. I'd probably pass out, right? But an angel shows up there, and it's just the dawn of what we are celebrating as Christmas. And he tells him, he says, don't be afraid. I bring good news. It's going to bring great, what is the word? Joy to all people. Do you want some joy today? Can we do that? Do me a favor. I want you to stand up with me, okay? We are going to do joy to the world, and I just want you to belt it out, do your best joy to the world, get the wiggles out, kids. You've been amazing today. But we are going to do that. We're going to sing joy to the world, because he said, I bring good news, the light of the world, and he's going to bring great joy for all of us. You ready? Here we go. Woo!
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Christmas Eve. We are so grateful that you were here to share this with us. We got just a couple things. A reminder, no in-person service this Sunday, the 26th. Join us online at kensingtonchurch.org, and we will see you January 2nd for the new Journey to Remember series. And on your way out, we've got a little gift for you guys, so make sure you stop by and grab that on your way out the door. God bless and Merry Christmas.